Hello, Squad Fam, and welcome to another Sinister Sunday. Today we're going all the way to London, to the haunted Highgate Cemetery. Let's find out why this cemetery is so haunted. The Highgate Cemetery is one of the most haunted places in London. And with good reason. In the early 1800s, the city's population topped the 1 million mark. And despite a high death rate, it was still growing. Graves were crammed in between shops and outside taverns. Undertakers dressed up as clergymen to perform illegal ceremonies. Many people were buried in shallow graves and quickly covered with lime. The stench and the disease was horrific. Then the Parliament decided that 7 private cemeteries will be built in the countryside around London. They were known as the Magnificent Seven. The third cemetery, dated 1839, was Highgate. The architecture and builder turned Highgate into an eternal oasis of peace. Everyone who was anyone wanted to be buried there. By 1854, the place was packed, and then they brought another 20 adjoining acres. By the turn of the 20th century, the cemetery started to fall gradually into disrepair. World War I decimated the staff, and by the end of World War II, the cemetery had all been but abandoned. In 1960, the gates to Highgate Cemetery were closed. Pristine landscaping became lush jungles, and buildings tumbled in onto themselves. Studios used the ground to shoot horror movies, and then the rumors and rituals began. Stories of men dressed in dark robes practicing dark rituals surfaced. Ghosts and ghouls haunted the alleyways around the graveyard. People reported seeing red-eyed demons staring at them through the fence. And then came the Highgate vampire. The vampire was said to be a medieval nobleman who practiced black magic in Romania. His coffin was brought from Europe to England in the 18th century, and his cult-like followers brought him a house in the West End. He was buried at the site that eventually became Highgate Cemetery. He slumbers peacefully until, according to reports, Satanists perform a ritual at the cemetery, and it woke him up. The Highgate vampire is said to be a tall, dark figure that glides through the cemetery. His presence is frequently announced by a sudden drop in temperature. He also has been known to cause clocks and watches to stop. He terrifies all the animals in the vicinity, and he has been blamed for scores of dead foxes on the cemetery grounds. The Highgate vampire has a hypnotic stare and a bone-chilling effect on all who have encountered him, especially those foolish enough to spend the night in the cemetery. The Highgate vampire is just the tip of the supernatural iceberg. The problems with the dead started during Victorian times with exploding coffins. Highgate Cemetery has a series of tombs built for those who wanted to be buried above ground. Regulations at the time required the tombs to be encased in lead. This was to prevent miasma from leaking out. As the bodies decomposed in their hermetically sealed tombs, the buildup of gases caused some coffins to explode. The solution was to drill a small hole in the coffin, place a pipe in it, and then light a match so that the gases could burn off hygienically. Though the cemetery is done burning off gases, there are still problems, including heart-stopping banshee wails, spectral faces floating around the place. A ghostly cyclist wanders the ground, as does the floating ghost of a nun. Some spirits are such regular visitors that the locals have named them. Today, 170,000 people are buried at Highgate Cemetery in 53,000 graves on 37 acres, and plots are still for sale, subject to government restrictions, of course. It continues to be a popular place for enthusiasts of the occult, paranormal, and vampires. It also hosts some of history's most well-known figures, including Karl Marx, Malcolm McLaren, and George Michael. So what do you guys think? I mean, the locals go there and see the ghosts so much, they name them. And there's vampires and nuns. I don't know, super interesting. Thank you so much for watching another Sinister Sunday, and we'll see you on the next one.